Hello and welcome back to RailRoads Online. So today we are here going to be trying to run out the rest of the rail. We worked our way down the mountain in the last one and we are now down here in the valley. So really just trying to get this back towards the smelter or the main line, wherever we can get it to is kind of our goal. We will take flight. Did turn around and kind of fly down the valley and back up again, and I think we are just going to actually ride up on the ridge. It's going to make it a lot easier than going up and down. The valley's got a lot of ups and downs, which is great if you want to end up, or if you don't mind ending up with a ton of bridge work or changing ground a lot in there, but I think it's just going to be easier, and we will try to do this with a little bit of speed, just to see if we can get through all that we have to get through. Okay, something. And we're gonna have to get rid of trees. A lot of trees today, for sure. We could bring it this way a little bit, but then we just have to turn back. I think we're okay with that little bit of ground. Pushing out there, not that big a deal. Go ahead and clean this up some, just to make getting through here a little easier. We have a lot of elevation changes like this. Not a lot, but just little if you go all the way up the valley. And so either, if you stay down here, you're either going back and forth across the river a ton of times or up and down. I don't know. I think we can probably just keep it simpler if we head out on the higher line there. It's kind of a dead path over here. Do we want to be that way or this way? Probably out this way. Let's clear it from here. And we'll try to target hitting that. See if we can get it. Probably get rid of that one too. We'll just keep it along the edge towards the rocks. At least that'll be our goal. Let's get rid of that too. We'll hook the inside here. A little bit of a guideline. Alright, then we'll go in, grab some rail. A little bit of a bop that way. Then we're going to come back this way. Not trying to do too much in a spline here. I mean, when this map was done, we were laying little short splines. So sometimes this map, I find that it's just easier if you don't try to necessarily run out huge splines all the time. So it just wasn't really what was in mind when it was there. Still doing alright here. Yeah, nice gentle curve. Nothing crazy there. Following the ground decent. I think we'll go ahead and try to clear a little bit more of this just so we can see our way up onto the shelf decent. Then here, this is the shelf that we're going to take. So once we get to here, things will be a little more easy to go. We just got to put the track on top, really. A little bit of an up and then a little bit of a down, obviously. Oops, we don't need any of that. Up and down, but then It's much easier than having a ton of ups and downs or just running one big long bridge piece. I guess at the end of the day I decided not to go up the valley because I didn't want to turn around and end up with just one gigantic bridge piece. So that was the thinking, or what won the debate of the day, I guess. Alright, more trees. Nice thing with the shelf, or at least running the dev pass, kind of, is what they've always been called, really, is that, you know exactly where the track's coming, or at least sort of where the track's coming, so you know what trees to get rid of. You can just clear this whole shelf, and then you're pretty much good to go. Alright, and then this will be our first break where we're going to need a bridge. So we are just going to go ahead and clear some room here for that. Wow. Getting out of the way. At least you don't get sent to the moon cutting trees down very often anymore. That used to be a thing. It's when new players are not going to have the experience of hitting the top of the map. Unless you build all the way up there, which, yeah, you can stack buildings and go all the way up there if you do, or at least you used to be able to. I would assume you still can. You can build a mountain of buildings, or the crates. Take the prop and go all the way up. Get rid of you too. For all the trees we cleared, we probably didn't clear 2 or 3 that we needed to. So we'll just go ahead and get rid of those, because why not? You two. And these. And we have a nice clear slate going up. Alright, that should work. Track. So one thing, multiplayer building is a little nicer. You can have somebody, if you have somebody running ahead, clearing everything, well, you are building rail, certainly helps. Okay, we don't want to get overturned here. What if we do something like that? And then here, we don't want to pick up to the pace to the point where we just get sloppy. That's not what we're looking to do. So this, we're going to go into precise mode so that it doesn't keep trying to follow the ground, or it's going to try to follow the ground, and we don't want the stonework to dip at all. We want that to be just kind of fixed. So I think we'll do something like that. And we'll get to bridges. I think we're probably, we could run actually whatever we want here. Probably. Let's go ahead and see what we get out of this, just to see. Okay, so we are going to run into ground. We need to come this way. A little bit of curve here. And then we need some elevation. And then really we don't want it to be all the way up against anyway. So if we did, if we're straight, we're clear right there. So that's cool. So we'll do something like that. And then we'll pick it up with stonework. No, we'll pick it up. Why am I in the wrong spot? Stonework, bridge work, not bridge work, wall work. It's not even stonework. It's wall work. All right, and then there. How does that come out? Not horrible. We're okay with that. I don't know. I love this section. But unless we're going to run the wall all the way out to there, which we're definitely not going to do, that works. Gives us a little bit of a walkway to get across there. Good deal. We'll take it. Oh, we don't need that. What we need is that. There we go. Alright, back on it. We can get out of manual mode. Get back into some terrain following track. How are we going to be here? I guess if we're out a little bit wider, we can make the turn a little bit easier. Easy, easy. Get that locked in on an angle that we like. And we'll take it. Bring us back to cutting trees. Get it? They got it. It's just not gonna pop out of there. Sure, it'll be gone by the time we get back. Tons of trees. Don't have to get them all one way. You always have to go back unless you're just gonna fly back crazy. Otherwise, you have 2 opportunities to cut, so don't need to go all perfect and cut everything. But as you can see, a nice path up here, so roughly where we're going is worked out. This is one of the nice paths, if you ask me, to turn around and cut down like the trees. You can ride on the train, because out here you don't have, not much is going to mess with your run out here. You kind of set it and forget it when you're on a run like this one. So you have plenty of time to turn around and cut down trees or do some sightseeing, whatever suits your fancy. So eventually this will all get totally clear cut. If you're running a lot of trains out here for coal anyway. Not that you need to necessarily do that anymore. I mean, you for sure don't need to do that anymore. You can run. That's the kicker, really, with this coal. We could just run one car out of here and never have to come back. So, for all that matters, we could fly. We could fly a couple of cars out there and really never have to use the coal mine. But that kind of just takes out building one of what I think are probably the best runs on the map. Which kind of was the another deciding factor in coming up here, other than just going down there. If you're gonna do this run, might as well put it in, get some good views along the way. This is a pretty scenic little route, so at least I've always thought this was one of the more scenic routes in the game. Everybody probably has their own idea there. Okay, we're going to be right out on this edge, so yeah, for sure we are. We're going to have a little bit of work to do there. Let's get rid of that. Now we'll go back. That's far enough ahead. Just try to do it in chunks, but I prefer to do it where there is some clean ground to work with. Man, flying makes the thing so much easier. We're just going to get rid of that for looks. That one too. These will get gone when we extend out further. We're not going to worry about that right now. We definitely have a nice lane to get our train through there, or to get our rail through, as the case is right now. Alright, running that along. Again, we're just going to find our angle coming around the corner and get that down. We're going to freehand most of this. This will be one of the longest splines we're going to get. Look back, make sure we didn't get anything we don't like in it. Looks like we're good there. Run out another pretty good one here. Again, let's look back, make sure that we are happy with our result. Reasonable to assume some things may change coming up here, so that's decent. Okay, as we swing off a little bit on this side, keep it before the turn so we can start coming back on the turn. And then again, once we find that angle that we like, we'll snap it. There we go. That is not going to be too bad. Won't cause us any kind of derailments or slowdowns. Up here we are definitely going to have a nice turn. So let's try to get out a little bit wide. And then we can start making our turn. That should be decent. Not too bad. But we actually are all the way up to where we cut trees already. The rail goes in much faster nowadays. That is for sure. Used to be like cutting wood was just one of, I don't know what, you had to kind of find the path, cut the wood on the path, then you had to lay the groundwork, then you had to lay the rail, then you had to fix it 6 or 8 times. It's kind of how it used to be. Now it's more like you can just lay the track and go cut the trees off the track if you want, or you can cut and lay in clear open area. Which if we weren't up here on the shelf, I'd probably be laying a little more and then just cutting. But on the shelf, I mean, ideally I like to cut the trees first anyway, honestly. Given the opportunity, I would prefer to cut the trees out of the path. Although sometimes when you go to cut the trees, you get lost cutting the trees and you go cut a big swath of trees you didn't need to cut. Alright, looks like we are coming up to our next bridge here. We're going to go ahead and just chop some trees. Wow, our bridge is definitely coming through here somewhere. I would assume anyway. I'm going to assume. Alright, this is the landing and this is the tight turn. We're actually making pretty good progress. Not a lot to cover after this. This turn is about the trickiest part of this run, if you ask me, at least on the shelf. So we'll clip all this to the end of the turn. This will clip out wide. See how easy we can get through this turn anyway. So we will try to keep it so we don't have to slow down as much as we can. And then we start getting into some elevation changes on that end of this run as we work our way down back to the rail. You can see ahead. Quite a ways to go yet. We got rid of the saw there. Alright. Get rid of those. We are clear there. Just going to blow these out for ease. Good, good, good. You can all go away. Not that you're going to be in the way, but sort of maybe it could happen. So let's just get rid of that. Flying along. Back to where we need to be. Grabbing some rail. Alright, so actually, if we're out, yeah, we better be out a little bit. And then let's start turning. Yeah. We'll do something like that. We should be able to get. It's not too bad ass curve. We're gonna end up with a few of those, so. Alright, and then that one we're just gonna have to break short. Something like that. Yeah, good to go. Always double checking your rail. Yeah, I don't like that, then it's gonna mound up. So let's do it there, and then we'll start working down. Again, not gonna pull things out too long so that we get any kind of weird up and downs. There, this will fly down. What are we doing here? We are going to be on a little bit of a curved footing here, but we're okay with that. For the most part. Yeah, it's not going to be like that big a deal. Alright, let's run that out right off of the edge so we get a nice look on the footing. Cool. Then bridge work. We want to go here. We are using this if we can get away with it height wise, which we can't. Oh, maybe we can. Okay, so if we're straight, we're right there. Let's go something like that. And then we'll grab, no. There. And then this, we're just going to bring to land. Happy with it there. Yeah, that looks decent. Is that okay? Ooh, that could have been a little bit better. Yeah, that's okay though. Not bad. We'll take it. And now is when we're going to have to work for what we're going to get here. A little bit. We're going to try to do this one in precise mode. Okay, going to have to bring it more. 40. Can we get 40 by? It looks like 40 is going to work. We can get there. And then we can straighten this out just a little bit. Yeah, if we can get a little straight in there. And then if we head this way just a touch, that'll let us start curving back the other way. Alright, we're going to have to do this one in precise mode as well. Alright, that actually is going to come around perfect if we do it at 40. I Thing is, do we want to go down? I think we almost want to go down. We're going to try to go down and see if that doesn't not bite us yet. No, we look like we're okay. We're going to have to go up here and find the path a little bit anyway, because at this point it's getting a little muddy. But I think we're going to be something like that. So let's throw that in. That's not horrible. Alright, where are we on the actual map? So we're here, we still have to go. Wow, okay. We've got about half the run in so far is what we have in. So definitely this is the long run. Alright, oops. Back to cutting. Just for this part especially, so we can kind of figure out where the heck we are. I think we want to go off this direction. Somewhere in here is my guess. We do have the oh, what are they? They're excavating tools is what's coming to mind. But surveying tools, that's what it is. We have surveying tools. Definitely can use them. I myself never really have used them. By the time you gotta put them in and take them out. But that is one way to do it. Not a horrible way to do it. More kind of like to just go out and cut the trees and find the path, but that's always just kind of been my way of doing it. So I've never gotten into the surveying equipment much, but it will show you the inclines and lay your path for you, I suppose, or if you put them in your path. Alright, when we get back somewhere where we know we're on the path, I think we'll turn around. This has got to be the right way to go, and it feels like we're starting to come down now. So that's the start of the run down, I think, the hill. Yeah, we're definitely going downhill now. Alright, so as long as we can head somewhere in here, we're good. Go back now and lay some track. A lot of ground we're going to cover today. That's for sure. Alright, let's not worry about every little tree. We can come back and get trees. If they're in the way, we'll get them otherwise. Let's not go crazy. How do we miss? The rail's right up there. Okay. So that should be a good enough path for us to follow, I would think. Alright, clear, good, sweet. Grab the rail, boom, boom. We are going into free mode. Little up, little down. It's just gonna work it out. Cool. There we go. Here. We can get the curve going in. Something like that. our way down. No. Why are we losing it? Not exactly sure. We'll just kind of keep the splines here a little shorter as it works. 2.9. Ooh, this is getting a little bit incliney. 4%? Really? 4.5? 4.5% if we follow the natural ground, huh? Well, whatever. We're taking what it gives us. That's what it is. So I guess we don't really have to worry about too much incline this whole run. Wait a minute. Why is that getting so steep? Wow, that's steep, man. Yeah, we're definitely going downhill. I mean, we're going downhill pretty quick. If that's anything accurate. Which it is. I mean, normally I wouldn't freehand it in here because you could turn around and cheat the... you can kind of cheat it a little bit and keep your groundwork up a little bit higher through there and not have to give up so much in the dip because it dips a little bit. It's going to come back up, I think, if I remember this correctly. It should go down, but then it's going to have a little bit of an up. Not that this is a big deal, but at that rate, that's going to kind of make our decision with how we're going to go down into the smelter because it's already going to be a fairly high grade line and we're going to need... or we're going to run a hefty local out here, that's for sure. But that's fine. Alright, and then now, I think we're going to stop trying to cut our path because as we work in here, it's just going to be about working down the angle. This all spreads out pretty good, but we just have to follow the ground. And then we'll follow that around something like that. And then back here we'll find the river. There used to be birds back here. One of the only places on the map you could hear birds, but not hearing them there now. Alright, here we are. There is our rail. We are going to try to stay along the edge, but then I know it's going to push us away from the edge. You can't just follow it all the way down or it just drops right off. Okay, nice. Nice. Now we're going to start changing. We just need to kind of try to follow this down in some place that's decent. Which at this point looks like it's just about anywhere. Alright, if that's going to work, then we'll go back and clear. We're not too far away from the edge yet. Makes me think we're going to run into a problem, but we'll see. At this point we're not too worried about it. Yeah, that's one thing I guess one piece of advice I would give people is, don't necessarily always try to do super long runs in just one track laying session. You find yourself going, you just want to get it done. So if you want to keep them super pretty all the time, stuff like that, lay them in sections, lay it until you're getting to where you just want to get it done and then take a break. Don't just try to throw it in because you want to get it done. Or go back and, redo stuff. I've always liked to do that too at a certain point where you just throw the stuff in and then you kind of go back and fix it when you feel like it. Or make it look prettier along the way, stuff like that. See, if we stay over here, we're going to end up into that, and then we have nowhere to be, so we have to start going away from that. So stop cutting along that path. Go a little bit right. Somewhere in here. This is where it always gets easy to lose. To lose the direction, if you ask me. And then end up with some. There we go. Alright, if we work through here. Now we're 2.8 there. Where is this coming from? Okay. So for something like that. Oh, or right into a. Let's see if we stretch it out. Will it come and not go that bad? It's gonna stay pretty good. And the river's right up here. Alright, we're at 3 there. Let's go back and try to clear it. Plus the, you know, honestly, when you get the grades over long distances, if I'm being honest, they're not always going to be accurate. See, this is not, it's not even going to work. But at least we'll use it for reference. It'll say that it'll work, and it might quite frankly work because you can see the rail, so you might be able to drive over it. I'm definitely not going to leave it in there looking like that. So we will end up replacing this. But it's going to give us a really good reference to where we need to be. So we'll clear all the trees. But we are not going to be down into the ground like that. You'll see the curves over long distances as you pull them in and out. You know, like we've looked at it a long time ago, and it's a gradual incline. It's definitely not consistent, so. Ooh, whoa, that was the wrong one. Wait, alright, problem. Let's get rid of you. It's really not bad. It's only that little bit right there. But I'm going to assume that's compensating for the bend of the rail. And that we can get that out of there without too much of a problem. No way, sir. I'm going to say you better work. It was in there. Better go back in there. Alright. Do we want... I'll tell you what, we can even do this. We'll get rid of that, that. Are we coming across the river in an okay place? Although if we were coming across over there, it might even be easier. Well, let's just see. If this runs, no, look, see, yeah, follow in the ground. Follow in the terrain. We'll dip right down in there, so it just depends, you know, sometimes. Are we good? We're good. Alright. We could just go with a wall right across there and act like we're damming up the whole river. We're the railroad after all. Alright. Bam bam. We're going to just run that right up to the edge. That's what we get. That's what we get. Cool. Then we are going to come in. We're going to get rid of that. Now we know where we need to go. A to B. Grab that there. There. Ba-bam. Let's take it back out of there. See, the problem is then we end up at some 4%, which we don't really want to be. So So we could do there, and we're only at 2.5 if we put it in ourselves. And then here we can bring it down and start turning it. Sweet. Alright, no problem. Wow! Here comes the lightning. No, always something. Alright. Then we are going to go up that way. Well, I'll tell you what. We are going to have to actually adjust the what? We're going to have to adjust this stupid... No, that's stupid, but we're going to have to adjust this. The storm is hitting at a stupid time is what it's doing, because we need to actually be able to see some stuff. And the storm is going to make it a lot more difficult. Alright, down here we may have an option to do the fixed bridge. I don't know. Can we do one of these? What is that? Oh, nope. We can't do it anyway. It'd be too long. I mean, we could. We're not gonna. Don't like the look. Wasn't gonna be what we wanted. So we will come in here. I suppose we could be friendly and give the people a walkway across the river at the same time that we're putting this in. So we'll go there. Probably right about there, I think should do her. Why do I always do that? 100 million times. Because we didn't have quick grab menus before. That's why. Alright, there we go. Boom. Good. Good with that. Alright, we're good there. Now, we have to go decide in the storm, of course. Really may turn around and just kill the storm because it's killing me. It's making it a lot harder to find out where I'm trying to go. Flying through the storm. Alright, the storm. Oh, look at that. You get down in the river bottom and the storm wasn't anywhere near as bad. That's, man. I definitely appreciate the dynamic weather, although I don't know that I appreciate the dynamic weather right this second. Very difficult to find out where we're going. Alright, we know that we are going to be down here. Alright, let's take a look at this real quick. Alright, so jump down here. We do have, grab the saw, get rid of that. That's a tree we've been having to get rid of for quite a while now. Knew it was going to go away sooner or later. Our target is going to be wrapping up this hill, so even though the storm is here, we can start with this bottom and hope that the storm gets out of here by the time we get up where it's going to be a bigger pain in the butt as we try to find our way across. And it might be easier coming up this to find it anyway. Might be easy enough, not to worry, I guess. So we will just get to work. Clearing trees. Somehow did we get shelter like under the tree? That was funny. It's like the whole storm seemed to stop there for a second. Working our way up this outer side of the slope here. Give us the gentle turn. It'll wrap us right up the side of this hill though. A little different finding it from this, usually coming down the hill to this, so this is a little different. Working it this way. I don't think that we're up on this ridge, going for more elevation here. Trying to climb our way up and out. Some of these better known paths than others. Nice thing with this map is there are multiple different ways you can do this stuff, but it did always give you a way to do it, you know? They didn't just go here, there's crazy mountains out there, figure it out. There are, you know, that's one complaint I think with the Lake Valley map is that it's not necessarily, or some of the paths aren't necessarily as obvious or even quite frankly there in some cases. Alright, there we go. Especially where that was the next map after this, so everybody was kind of used to looking for the path that wasn't there necessarily. And Aurora Falls is a great map. Like that map. A lot of options. Great dev paths. Great kind of options to go totally rogue if you want to too. Great map. Aurora Falls is a wonderful map. Mesa Plains is a great map too. I have to say I absolutely dig the look of Mesa Plains and the options and the networking ability that's in there. Little bummed it's quite as flat as it is, but good for newer players too to pick up on. And again, it's great for like networking and options of like if you're trying to just do train logistics and move and stuff, it's not bad for that either, that's for sure. And the build options are endless. You can do things any which way on there. You do not have to go any direction for very much. This map, arguably, people would say that you kind of end up into a lot of the same places, although you do have options to go billy goat and go crazy wherever you want to, so just depends on how you like to build, you know. It's always been that way. Alright, and once we get up here, we are not far away. Tell you that. This will be a good connection to make. Still gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do with the sawmill. Whether we're gonna turn around and bring it all up here and connect it. Okay, then we're gonna have to start turning this way. Somewhere in here, I guess here we'll stop cutting down trees because we don't necessarily know where we're gonna come out in here. It's gonna be somewhere in here before we end up with half of the forest cut down. Alright, that will give us the way that we need to go, or at least I think we're gonna try to pull that off. Let's get rid of these. They're just gonna be in our bridge work anyway, and we don't want that. Okay. This actually, don't know where that's gonna be. See, it would be nicer to be working down this hill than up this hill, because if we come, that's true. Let's go see. because we don't want to crank this up at too much of an angle. We'd like to keep this under 6, which is going to be tough, because usually I think it likes to lay at like 6.5, 7%, somewhere in there. Well, we're going to try to keep that to a minimum. Can we see that rail over there? Right, it's right over there. Why? Decisions, decisions, decisions. Alright, so right here is where we're gonna come through. Let's grab. The thing is, if we don't actually join up with this rail from what's up at the iron mine, life would be 50 times easier in here, to be real. See, I like how that's 3%, but the second we bend it, it's too far. Okay. If we do something like that, then we are in the ballpark. How does that bring us out on this side? And we definitely don't want to go down anymore. We can do whatever we need to do. But now we just need to get that. Whoa. Oh, because we're moving by hundreds. Okay, so I think we'll have to do something like that. And if we overturn that just a little, that should give us what we need. Oh, we're just down here kind of doing the overhead wing it. Oh, it's not gonna be, because see, there's a dip in there. Alright, that's okay. This will get us close. Still gonna snap in here anyway. Yeah, I didn't think so. No chance. Okay. We're close. We just have to figure out how to get over. Oh. Alright. Should have been over here. Shoot. Should have been over here and then working down. Here's the question. Can we pull it off? Alright. I mean, so far we're not super fixed in here. It's not like we can get rid of this, but we should be able to pull this off. We just need a little bit more elevation in here. Trees going down. Alright, get rid of that. Come back this way. Grab this. There. Of course, now we're not bending off, and I have no idea what we were at. We're at something in there. No, I don't know. That's totally actually somewhat true. Okay, so 2% looks like it's actually going to clear it. Alright, I want to say that that should be on a decent angle to get where we need. Okay, so we need that to be there. That's going to keep our trusses above the ground, and then we can do whatever we want, which is bring that down. Bam. Now let's see, how's that going to stick? The groundwork is going to be a little high there, which we could change to other groundworks. Ooh. We could change that to other groundworks if we don't like the look of it once we get the trees out of the way. But for functioning purposes, well, that's really close. I think it's going to work. I could see putting a little bridge section in right here, though. It would be easier than following. But then again, too, that's groundwork 1, and it is hitting the ground. So it's like, it's not even high. It's... That's okay. For now, we're just going to leave it, make sure that it functions, and if it bothers us, we could turn around and put in a bridge of some sort. But if that's the highest ground we have, we're not doing too bad. Okay. Now let's go to finishing the big pain in the butt part, which is going to be this. Two tricky parts on this run: the one tight S-turn on the way over here, and then this downhill. We gotta try to see where we can be. Alright, we don't need to go that low yet. We will get that across here. And then, what happens if we try to just follow the terrain? We end up at 5%, 6.5%, 7%. So that's not going to work. Six and a half. 6 gets us to right there, and then we run out of room. Ick. That's off the edge. We're not doing that. I guess we could go in to what if? What if we move this over this way as much as we can get it? I feel like if we go at 6, that's as good as we're gonna actually hope for. And then, oh, wrong, everything wrong, wrong. Then if we go down to the wall work, we can get this right over to the edge, and it won't matter. Right. And see, I feel like that's where I want to be. Okay, something like that. It would have been nicer, honestly, if it was 5 feet over even further. But I think if we do that, we're starting to sacrifice. We're starting to sacrifice the decent run for looks too much here. Let's see how this is gonna look now. I'm trying to come down. Trying to get down, because this is where it gets dumb. I almost think, yeah, that'll work, right? Well, how does that look? Yeah, that'll work. We just have to widen this out. Get rid of some of these. That's different. I've never been over this far, so this is a new process. Usually I just plug my way right down the middle and I don't worry about it. And I just go, what it is what it is. But it's also normally, anytime I come down here, I'm not thinking about bringing trains back up it. Just going down it. So I'm going to try to smooth it out some this time and see what our odds of getting trains up out of it are for running out to the coal mine. In this case, I think we'll try to leave that tree there just because it's going to help cover. It's going to help make it look less mounded. Alright, we want to definitely go down. I mean, we're definitely getting down with less climb. The thing is we're still up pretty high. I almost feel like that's going to be too close to the hill, but we'll see. Interesting. And then how does turning on in here go when we're because really we need to start going this way. I don't know. I don't like that approach angle. I feel like that's gonna have to change because we have to go that way. And I don't feel like we're gonna get over. We're not gonna get over things that way. Let's look. See what happens. Something like there. We would clear. What happens if we turn? I always go over there. What if we don't go over there? What if? What if? That hill is really close, but if anything, that lets us take even more out of it. Alright, let's try something different. We'll try something different. It's nowhere near as steep. I mean, if we're talking about an entire degree of incline here. See if we can pull that off. We'll give it a shot. Like I said, it's a little bit different than what I normally would do. Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know why I always do that. Alright, down to the wall. And we don't need this to be as bent. Something like that. And we'll take that right out to the edge if we can. Can we? We certainly can. I think like that. Boom. Nice. That'll work. Yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and throw the bridge in. I think we'll do wood. Wood, is that going to work? Wood is not going to work. That means we are going to go down to metal, because that'll work. We're not going to float. We should be able to do this, no problem. And we'll try to find out where that is. Something like that. Should work. Hopefully. Might be a little steep yet for that. Nope. It's going to work. Perfect. And then we'll make the rest of the curve here. Oh man, tell me it didn't have to be on a 30. Okay, it definitely doesn't have to be on a 30. Let's split the difference. Really, just get down there. That is not horrible. Not in love with that side, not absolutely hating it. So that's a pass. Is what that is. Guess we could have run that out a little bit further. How long do we need? Alright, we don't need long. We'll do like that. Cut our trees for the landing. Alright, that should get us transitioned across that gap and back down to regular ground. Now we shouldn't have too much of a hard time in here. Hopefully we are back down to groundwork 1 and we are getting close to our destination. Now we're gonna let that pull us through to the end. What? Why would that just auto go in that direction? Oh, whatever. We'll just precise. We'll do it the way we want to do it. 3%. We are nice and low to the ground. Really low to the ground right there, but still above ground. So I think we will take it. Happy with that. Fine. We'll leave that tree for now. We'll worry about that. I don't know why you did that again. Alright, now can we auto follow some ground? 3.5%. Oh, we can if we want to go absolutely bonkers. Are you really gonna make us? I'll be surprised if we can't keep it under 3. Okay, let's crank this up. Was hoping we were just gonna be able to go bang, but No, 3% is not going to get down. 3% is not going to get it down anyway. Of course, we're not that worried about being at 3%. If we freehand it, what's it go to? 4? Four 3 looks like about the most favorable number we're getting. Let's just go with it. I want to do something like that. At least it's not a lot of it that's going to be at that kind of high angle. There we go. Not too bad. Again, this is where I'm going against my own, because now I'm getting into the... Been laying this long enough, I just want to get through to the end. So you can see the end of the tunnel, and you just keep pushing. And maybe it's not the best decision. We could have maybe worked this down a little smoother than we are. So now if we have a spot we're going to have to come back and fix, you know it's going to be this. Yeah, we'll keep this out wide. Hopefully we still have enough room to make this connection. Oh, how steep is that? How tight is that? Oh, it's not too bad actually. It's not any... The takeoff's not going to be a lot different than going there. Could we been out a little bit further? I don't know, it transitions down. I'll tell you what, it's in there. It's in there, and if we have to fix it, we'll fix it a little tight. Oh, it's too tight. I don't like it. We'll come. You take yourself right out of like, no! It's not working. Alright, let's go in and set a legit. It's never going to come out of here at 80. That's way too... It might not have been as bad as 30. Ugh. Alright, let's see. Can we get 40? We can get 40. Don't like that then. So then we gotta get rid of that one. At least that's a little bit better. I feel like. Yeah, I feel like that's a little better. Gonna use it. Oh, the long. It's the golden spike, and it won't drive. Oh. See, then once you get it close, it'll snap. There we go. Golden spike is driven. We have attached the rail. We may end up having a few things here at the end to fix. Again, stretched it out probably slightly further than I should have, but for all intents and purposes, we are hooked up. Have a long run. It's going to be an interesting one to test. It's definitely a little bit steep. Going to be a mountain run, no doubt about it. But then Pine Valley is a mountain map. So what do you expect? You're in the mountains, right? A little bit of up and down. Definitely going to, you know, call for strong locomotives if you're going to be running big loads. But that is actually going to get us. Wait a minute. Oh, that's why. That's why. Okay, we gotta fix that. We gotta fix that. Alright, get rid of these. Right, we put that in case we came down that way because we put in lots of options is what we put in. So we need to get rid of this. Yep. I don't need that. I need that. Part of that's my own fault. Okay. There we go. That'll do that. And then this should now turn a little smoother, or at least a little less. Yeah, see, this won't be anywhere near as sharp now. Yeah. Golden money. That's way better than coming down the hill to a 40. Alright, let's... Don't be... You gotta be kidding. What's your beef? Thank you. Alright, there we go. That is much more chill, much smoother. Yeah, way better. That's the ticket. Now we will actually be able to start running some trains out that direction. We do have a bunch more cordwood to get down here. What are we looking at for iron stocks? Not a lot. Gonna need some more iron, gonna need more cordwood, but now we have a path out to the coal. So, you know, that was our real target. Now we can start filling up at least so we have fuel for our locomotives, and we're not going to run out of anything anytime soon, or won't be, you know, providing we can run this out. This is going to be an interesting run because we do have to get rails, and we have to obviously get a lot of wood beams out there. It takes a ton of wood beams to actually get that going, but the big target is, or the heavy one anyway, is going to be getting some of these rails out. But we don't need to get a ton of them out there, but we do need to get them out there, and it now is a pretty hilly climb, so we'll just have to see how that goes coming up. But we got the rail in today. We'll get the test run going on another day because I think that's long enough for today. So we're going to call it a win and say thanks for tuning in. Remember, if you get a chance, like, share, subscribe. Subscriptions are free, but they sure do help the channel. Y'all have a great day.